All right, fantastic. All right, well, let's get started. I appreciate those who are here today, but I know that most of you guys are watching the replay. So everything that I'm talking about today is good for everybody here, but it's also good for all of you with the replay as well. I've got all of my stuff here that I'm going to share with you today, and I want to go through something, and I want to share with you something that is probably completely different than most of the people that are talking about how to plan and brainstorm and implement the content for your customers. So let me jump into this here. So today we're going to be talking about this brainstorming stuff, how to get the steps to brainstorm. And I'm going to walk you through this brainstorm process that I've been doing. I started it probably earlier this year. I want to talk about how to keep your content filled every single month, and that's going to be part of how this whole process works. And why doing this process is going to help you stay consistent. And I think that is one of those steps and one of those things that we run into constantly is about being consistent. And of course, as always, I'm going to share your next steps about how you can move forward. And I always like to bring this part up too, that one of the reasons that I'm teaching again is because I love teaching. I used to teach over at the National Entrepreneur Center in Orlando, taught like over 125 social media workshops. I would do like 5 every single quarter over and over again. So I have worked with hundreds and hundreds of small business owners. And that is where I started really working with my content strategy consulting with all the people that I had met over there. And that is actually what started the Create Your Business program that I will talk about throughout the process here today in the workshop. This is the second in the Create Better Content series. Last month, I kind of set the foundation of it. If you want to watch the replay of that, that's going to be in my new YouTube channel. I will get the link to that when I send you this replay link. You'll also get the replay from the first one too. I really recommend that you watch that one first if you haven't seen this, because that's going to help set the foundation of what we're talking about today. And today I want to talk about this thing called mind mapping or content mapping. I'm not sure if you've heard of this before, but if you have not, I'm going to go into and explain exactly what it is and why I started using this. I was going to be doing this every single month. And what has happened is doing it like the third week of the month, because that seems to work well with my schedule. But the third week of November is Thanksgiving. And when I looked at my schedule, there was just nothing I could do to figure out to get it into Thanksgiving. So we're not going to be doing anything in November. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do it earlier in December. And what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about something that I call the customer journey and how to plan for 2023 with your marketing. So watch your inbox for that information. And we can do that. There's a few of you, or there's just us here today. So those of you who want to think out loud, please, by all means, do so. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into this because most of you are watching the replay today, and which is I appreciate. And I appreciate all the emails. You know what? That was really thoughtful of all of you to email me. Thank you so much for letting me know about that. Let's talk about the science of brainstorming. I'm going to get right into this today. This is a book that I'm currently reading right now called Out of Our Minds, The Power of Being Creative. And Sir Ken Robinson, he's a PhD. He's the one that wrote this book. And one of the things that Sir Ken Robinson has said is, if you're not prepared to be wrong, it's unlikely that you'll ever come up with anything original. And that's a really, really important piece here when it comes to brainstorming, because I think what happens sometimes is when we start with ourselves and we start going through this process and we're like, oh, I don't have time for that. I don't have money for that. That just seems like a crazy, crazy idea. But you'd be surprised at how the thoughts of the little pieces, the big ideas, if you are not prepared to allow yourself to be wrong, you're not going to come up with anything original. And that's a really important piece here. And I'm going to keep moving forward on that, but I want that to kind of stick with you guys, because I want to make sure that it's okay that you know that everything's not going to be perfect. Everything's not going to be, perfection. And this is the best thing ever. It's going to take time. And I know this for a fact because with my Create Your Business program, I started off doing one thing. And then when I was working with the branding coach, it all just kind of came to me like a light bulb. And I started moving from that place. So I allowed myself to be wrong about certain things so that I could keep on coming and keep moving about being more original. And the science of brainstorming actually is 3 steps. It's imagination, creativity, and then innovation. And I'm going to break it down for all of these. Imagination is actually the source of your creativity. Imagination and creativity are not the same thing. I want to repeat that. That is so super important. Imagination and creativity are not the same thing. Imagination is the source of your creativity. Imagination is what I refer to as a mental experience. We imagine things that have existed, imagine things that might have existed, or maybe something that hasn't existed at all. And then our imagination allows us to participate in any possible future by acting on our ideas that we produce in our imagination. So your imagination is basically what's going on in here. It is not creativity. Creativity is the act of doing something. It's actively producing something in a deliberate way. It's taking what we think about in our imagination and doing something. And so when we take that imagination and move it into the actual physical act of something, then it becomes creativity. And that's a really important piece here. So that process that we have of all these original ideas actually create, let me start that sentence over again. The process of having original ideas that have value is where your creativity comes in. And I really want you to just understand that. So whatever you participate in doing, there's this relationship between the thing that you're doing for the ideas to take place and your imagination. So let's say that what you're participating in is you're going for a 15-minute walk. Maybe what you're participating in is baking a cake or gardening. When you're actively doing something and allowing your imagination to flow, that is creativity. So you actually have to not just be in your head with your imagination. You really need to physically do something. And that's when, for those of you who've been on my email list forever, you've seen me say, just do something. That's what I mean about that creativity. So let's talk about the next place is innovation. So now what we do with the innovation is we take action on what we have developed during those moments of creativity. It could be something new or change to an existing product. And one of the best examples that I had found was the telephone is an invention, but the smartphone is an innovation. Because whether we believe it or not, we can still use our smartphones to talk on the phone. I know most of us don't. We'd rather text, we'd rather email, we'd rather use our smartphone to go on social media or whatever, but it's a phone because it actually says it in the name. It's a phone. So the telephone was the invention, but the smartphone is the innovation. So think about brainstorming in that sense. We start off with our imagination and what we can think about mentally in our ideas, what we can come forward, and then to take it out of our ideas and to actually create something of value, that's where the creativity comes in. So we actually do something for the creativity to come to fruition. And then the innovation is actually taking action on that creative idea. So I want you to think about this differently because most people think brainstorming is like, oh, I'm just going to do a whole list and this is what we're going to do. So think about it in the way of what could I do to spark my imagination? What could I then do to bring out my creativity, to do something, the activity of something, which will lead to the innovation of taking action on this creative idea. And the innovation could be, a new YouTube channel. Your innovation could be a different way that you do reels on social media. The innovation could be setting up a podcast and doing interviews. What could you do to take action on these creative ideas? So as Sir Robinson tells us again, you need to understand that creativity moves through different phases to have some sense of where they are in the process. Not understanding this is what makes people think that they're not creative at all. And I've always subscribed to this theory that we're all born creative. And as a matter of fact, my latest YouTube video that I'm working on right now, or I already think I did that one. The one about says where I think that we're all born creative, because I truly believe that we all are. And if you can see yourself moving through this process of imagination, creativity to innovation, then you can see that yourself, that you really are creative and you really can move through this process yourself. So let's get started on all this brainstorming stuff. Content mapping. Let's talk about content mapping and what the heck is it? Let me see here. I want to make sure I'm doing something here. Okay. Whoop, sorry. Content mapping. Now you've all probably seen these little diagram things here before. You might have seen them with, all kinds of scientific things, and this leads to this, and this leads to this, or maybe, I've actually seen these in websites where you can put your website there, and then this website page does this, and this page this. But have you ever thought about doing this for your content? That is something called content mapping. One of the greatest things about content mapping is it helps you actually do a total brain dump of all of this. And you actually get to look at this and see where your customers are in the sales funnel. You can see where their interest is converting to sales. You can audit and organize your existing content. And while you're auditing and you're organizing things, that helps you see these missing gaps. And you can also figure out which part of your content you can use to repurpose. And it allows you to develop this content and define its purpose in your marketing place. These are all these fancy things that we're going to dig into each one of these things as we move through this. And the other thing I'm going to show you is when we get to a point where I'm actually going to pull up my content map, and I'm going to show you what my map looks like and how I started using this. So what you're going to be doing with your content map is you're going to be arranging all of your thoughts and your ideas and your marketing plans, and allows you to do this visually without having to follow a specific format. And that's the thing about brainstorming. We do our list, we do this, we do, there's a SWOT analysis with the strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats, and it has to be done this way, and it has to be done this way. And the great thing about content mapping is there is no right way, there's no wrong way, there's just your way. And when you start to put these things out there and you start to see it all together in this one place, you visually start to get this full picture of your marketing, and you start to get ideas. And I could put this here and I'll connect this here. And it's a fascinating process. And so I can't wait to share the whole thing with you and how I've gone through this, but it's really super cool. And I think one of the reasons why it works so well is because we as humans, we are visual learners. We are visual people. We love to visually see things. And when you can see everything laid out for you like that, it just makes it so much easier to understand about how to move and shift and change and do things like that. I think what happened with me is, and I've shared this kind of briefly, last year was a really, really tough year for me, really tough year personally. And just so many things were going on in my life that I just kind of gave in and just let it all go, because I needed the break. I needed to take it, to tear it all down and to start back up again. And so when it came time for me to start back up again, I didn't know where to start. And so one of the things that I did was I started with my business, and I put the main idea of my business in the center of this map. And then I started connecting things. These are things I want to do. These are things I'd like to do. These are things that I need to do. These are things that I want to do. These are down the road things. And then they started to branch off into these subtopics. And so that's pretty much what it is. And I mean, I don't need to describe to you how to do this because you guys have all seen this before and you've done this, but I just wanted to walk you through what had happened with me and why I had done all this way that I had done it. So when you start working on your content mapping, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to select your topic. And it doesn't have to be about your entire business. It doesn't have to be about, it could be about one piece of your business. Let's say you just wanted to start a podcast. So the subject that you put in the middle is, I'm starting a podcast. And then you can think about, how is this connected to your marketing? So you could do a branch off of that and talk about, your marketing. You could put as much text, you could put as little text as you want. It's entirely up to you. Remember, there's no right way, there's no wrong way. But your main topic is always located someplace, and it should be connected to your website or your social media messages. You don't want to just do a content mapping off of something that's completely out in space, unless it's a brand new program that you're just now starting. But it's usually something that is, at this point, that's going to be connected to your marketing plan. So you want to think about, how is this connected? So for me, what are the things that I thought about as I was moving through my content mapping, is I came back to the idea of the workshops again. For those of you who've been with me for years, I used to teach not one, but 2 workshops a month. I would do a Create Your Business workshop. And then for the longest time, I was also doing some Pinterest stuff. So for twice a month, I was doing 2 workshops consistently. And when all of this stuff kind of fell apart, I just stopped completely. I just completely stopped. And when I came back to it, I was like, what is it that makes you happy? What is it things you like to do? I like teaching. I really enjoy doing something different like this, is teaching. So one of the things that ended up popping up on my content map was the workshops. And then I started kind of fleshing out the workshops and how I was going to work with all of that. So your subtopics can obviously be something new, something that you're going to repurpose. Think about the content buckets that we talked about in last month's workshop. I don't want to go through all of that again. I'll put the replay. I'll give you the replay so that you can watch that again. But the content buckets are a really, really good place to start with your subtopics if you're not sure how to expand from that main topic. So for me, using my example here, I talked about the Create Your Business workshops. I decided what I was going to do was monthly live workshops. I know November's not, well, it's Thanksgiving. That's all I'm going to say. It's going to be monthly. They're going to be every single month. I promise you. And one of the things that I wanted to do in these workshops, just like I did earlier in the last workshop, and then I did it again today, I want to talk about the science. I want to start sharing my stories more, because I understand now that this product that I've created, the Create Your Business program, when I keep talking about tapping into your creativity so that you never run out of content ideas again, I get it. That's my tagline. That's my thing that I say all the time, over and over again. But how did I even get here? How did I get to that place? What is the science behind tapping into your creativity? And why does that have anything to do with never running out of content ideas again? I wanted to talk about that. I wanted an opportunity to do more than just, do a 15-second reel on it. I wanted to be able to dig more into it. So I knew that these workshops was a space for me. I feel comfortable doing this. I have been teaching for years, and there's nothing about inside of me that would even come up with an excuse to not teach. So I knew that if I dug into the science and started sharing my stories, this was the place I was going to do that. It also gave me the opportunity that I could put the replays on my YouTube channel. So I've created new video content for myself. Boom, repurposed my video content. What a great opportunity. And of course, it gives me this opportunity as a sales opportunity so that people could subscribe to the Create Your Business program. When I first started the program, it was about building your business. It's completely changed over now into, I have rewritten almost every single one of the workbooks. I've redone everything. I've changed out a lot of the creative activities. And so now it's a whole new program. So it gives me a sales opportunity now for people to subscribe to the Create Your Business program. So let's get this specific. That's such a, I don't know why that's such a hard word for me. When my son was a kid, he used to say Pacific instead of specific. I would tease him and he would say it's Pacific. I'd say like the ocean. So now I can't say it. Just get specific on subtopics. And what ends up happening is when you start to see these little branches, you can think about how you can do even more deeper. Like you could write a blog post about content tools. You share that blog you post on LinkedIn. You can create a weekly email message linking to the blog. You can do a short video sharing the blog content and publish the video to YouTube or turn it into an Instagram story. You could turn that list of content tools into a checklist. That could be used as an email opt-in to grow my email list. I just came up with these just like right off the top of my head as I was writing, figuring out my slides about how to do with one piece of content. So you could take like one piece of content and use this content mapping and start branching out and seeing how everything can get connected and how you can repurpose it. It's a really fantastic tool. So if you haven't done this, I really hope that when I show you my content mapping, that you're going to get excited about this. Gives you an outline to create things. I want you to think about this in the sense of all of your marketing, all of the stuff that you're creating, your blog posts, your videos, social media stories, anything that you can create, a series on. What content can you repurpose? What can be reworked into a content upgrade? And it's fantastic when you can see everything visually in front of you. It makes it so much easier to do all of these things, to think about repurposing, to think about what you can turn into a content upgrade when you can actually, do this process. One of the things that's really, really cool that I've discovered when I was doing this is there's this thing actually called reverse brainstorming. You think of the worst possible thing that can happen, and then you use it to help you. I'll give you some examples here. Write down the possible causes that your program, your process, or whatever's failing, and then work on those answers to ensure that it doesn't. What is the worst ad copy for your marketing campaign? And then rewrite it to sound clearer. So you can use your content mapping to do some sort of reverse brainstorming too. And that's a really cool little added bonus here lesson that I wanted to share with you guys. All right. I am going to stop this and pull up my I know how this works. I promise. Okay. I promise I know how this works. It doesn't want to work with me here. Okay. I know. It won't let me. Okay, hold on a second, guys. Okay. It's not letting me do it this way. Okay. I am trying. Sorry about this. Okay. Let's get back to this. Okay. How am I not able to get out of this? Hold on. Bear with me. I'm sorry. Why am I not able to get here? Okay, hold on. Okay. Now I don't know what's going on here. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened here. Okay. Gotta stop, Cooper. Okay. That's fun, huh? This is okay. Let's go. I don't know why it's not letting me get out of this. It got locked up somehow. Okay, sorry about that. I know that. Okay, Let me get back into everything again. Sorry about this. Sometimes technology doesn't work the way we want it to. It never does it? Okay. I'm hoping you can see this. Kate, can you tell me if you see this? Not yet. Okay. 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 What's it doing? Oh, I got it now. How about now? I'm sure you can see it now. All right. Yep. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Kate. All right. Now, this is my mind map. I'm going out first and then I'm going to go back in. Okay, started here with my business. And then I started at this point. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to go in a little bit so you can see a little bit more. So you can see all the branches. So then it started with this idea of creating better content. Okay. Why are you doing this to me today? Okay, there we are. So it started with the idea of creating better content, right? I ended up doing that 30-day Instagram challenge, which I'm actually now turning into a workbook, which I'm going to be selling. You know, you guys will be, you'll know more about that towards the end of this year when I do that, which led me to think about a YouTube channel, which then led me to think about the Create Your Business monthly workshops. And then I started thinking about the topics of everything and what was going to be on my YouTube channel, how I was going to do this and all of that. So that's what happened from there. But one of the big things too that I came with an idea of was when I was going to restart everything again, it wasn't just about content. I wanted to think about content that was going to give me SEO, search engine optimization. So I wanted to focus myself more on the type of content that I could create that was going to come up with some SEO. So I knew that blog posts were going to help me with SEO. I know that Pinterest is going to help me with SEO. YouTube is going to help me with SEO. So I wanted to focus myself on content with SEO. I'm still on LinkedIn, and that's just something that I do. I haven't quite moved through that whole process yet. I'm still kind of thinking through. I'm still on there posting and you know, connecting with other people and commenting and things. I haven't really worked through my entire LinkedIn plan that I'm going to do. So that's kind of why it's sitting there. The blog posts, I know what I need to do. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But here's my content buckets that I had done. Here's my Instagram reels. I'm going to figure out a way that I can take some of my YouTube videos and turn them into reels. Pinterest is another one that's definitely for SEO. I've started tapping into the carousel pins and the pin ideas and all that. The idea pins is what they're calling them. Going back to probably doing some paid ads on Instagram, some paid ads on Pinterest. Those are things that I've done in the past. Kind of moving into that. And so when I started thinking about my content again, I really wanted to touch more on what was going to provide me SEO, what was going to provide me the opportunity that when somebody was typing into something into Google or typing into something into YouTube, my content pulled up. So that's where I was coming from with this. And so then that kind of led to, you know, all of these other things that I've just kind of branched off on. I've been, you know, moving around with my marketing and things like that. And actually, and this is something interesting, and I'm just going to put this out there to see what anybody else thinks. The thought has actually come into my mind about doing a mastermind group, people who meet once a month from May until October, do like a monthly meetings where we do brainstorm content, help you with struggles for your posts, blogs. I would have like something that we would all be able to answer and talk through every single month. But it would also give you an opportunity that if you wanted to meet once a month with some other like-minded business owners that this was this place that we could do this. And I wanted it to end in October and do a 2-day content, creative content strategy retreat, hopefully at the beach. Day one, I would do like paid with just 20 attendees. And then day two with just the mastermind members to help one-on-one with their content strategy. So that's another thing that I just kind of came through with that idea of that as well. And so this is what I'm talking about, how it just kind of, you see how it just, and I'm going to go back out again, how I just started with the idea of my business in the middle, went to content, started marketing, create better content, went to the mastermind, business coach and all this other stuff that I'm thinking about doing. And there's no rhyme or reason or anything, but it gives me this place where I can just put all of my information in one place where I can visually look at it. And I can see how this is connected to this and how I can do this with this. And I could, put another branch and I can make this branch connect to this branch or this, and I can start another one, or something along those lines. And so it just allows you to start moving from your imagination into the creativity and then to the innovation and actually taking action on your creative ideas. So I just love the idea of this because I think that it's just so easy to visually look at something and to not have to have like a certain way of, oh, we have to do it like this. And oh, it has to be like this, and with all of, I'm sorry, I lost my slides. So that's just something, to think about here. And if anybody wants to know more about that, by all means, I'd love to, you can set up an appointment and talk with me some more about this, and we can go through this with you. But I just really love the idea of visually being able to see all of my marketing like this in one place. And I never had realized that the Create Better Content was its own thing, because I would have normally would have thought that content that provides SEO, I could put that together. But in my head, they're two separate, because they're two separate pieces, because this piece, is turning into a workbook, is turning into a YouTube channel, is turning into these workshops. So it just kind of, everything grew from this to this to this. And I would not have gotten here had I not been able to visually lay it all out. So I just wanted to share that one with you too, because I think that that's a really big piece of this that I wanted to talk through with you. Something different and something really unique with regards to how you can start brainstorming your content, other than, I don't even know what people do anymore to brainstorm their content. Okay, we're back here. Sorry about all of that, all that fun stuff, but I'm back to where I need to be. And so let's get into this creativity stuff, this do something thing, moving from imagination to innovation. One of the things that comes up for me, as well as other people, when I talk about all of this is, I talk about, going for a walk or painting or writing a book or baking a cake or gardening or, all of the other things that you all are thinking about doing with your creative activities. But what if you're just so busy, you just don't have time for any of that extra stuff? And I get that. I mean, my world is absolutely crazy. I look at my schedule sometimes and I'm like, I can't believe I'm actually sitting here for 10 minutes and not doing anything. And I realized that sometimes being creative are things that I'm doing with my marketing. So the steps that we're talking about, the something that you can do, the things that you will do to disrupt the pattern in your prefrontal cortex could just be designing images on Canva. That's creative. I like designing images on Canva, as a matter of fact. I think it's fun. One of the things that I've started to enjoy doing is on my YouTube channel. I really like recording those videos. It took me forever to figure out how to do this YouTube thing, because for some bizarre reason, I just didn't want to have me sitting there talking for 10 minutes, which is really weird because here I am talking for an hour and a half on a workshop, but that doesn't make a difference. So I just wanted to be able to talk. I wanted to be able to talk. And that's when I came up with the idea of just putting the footage over my voice. And so when I sit there and I record myself and I get out my really high-end microphone and I'm sitting here and I've got my things in front of me and I've written it all out, and just to talk, that's creative. That's fun for me. And so I want you to also think about that when I talk about do something, it's not just always about painting or writing a book or, going on a bike ride for 3 hours. Creative could be part of your marketing too. So give yourself a break that you've got 20,000 things on your list and you don't have time for all of this. I get that. But what's something creative in your marketing that you can do? Is it, creating images on Canva? Is it, recording your voice for a YouTube channel? Think about it from that perspective too. And as you're listening to me today, and then you looked at my mind map, I just know some content ideas came to you. There's no doubt. And if you're still struggling with that, go back and rewatch that part again and take a look at some of the things that I talked about. I wouldn't be surprised if just listening to me talk and looking at my mind map, something might have clicked in your head that you're struggling with, something that's going to help you move from imagination to innovation. And if you find yourself in that place, I recommend you pull out a piece of paper. I recommend you get a Word document, whatever you want to do, and just start doing a stream of consciousness writing. Just start writing. Don't think about the sentence structure. Don't think about what you're going to do, what you're going to say, how much money is this going to cost, how much time is this going to take. Just start writing, because I can assure you by the time that you get done, and if you don't even know how long to write for, set a timer for 5 minutes. Okay, let's just make it easy. Set a timer for 5 minutes and just start writing. Because by the time you're done, whatever's going on in your imagination, and you're going through this creative activity, which is you writing, the stream of consciousness writing, is going to bring you to the innovation. I assure you that this is the way that our brain works. And this is the way all of us as human beings function. We just don't put ourselves in that place, in that condition, in that situation, and think of it like this. And so I'm asking you to think outside of your box, to get yourself outside of the normal idea of brainstorming, and to be open to this flow of unique ideas and work through this process. All right. And as always, I like to remind you all that if anybody's interested in subscribing to this Create Your Business boxes, I've got a code for $20 off of your first box, no matter what plan you're on. Just use the word create, all in lowercase. Okay, let's talk about content calendars. Are the best things ever. And I have to say it like that. Best things ever. And actually, if I'd had my way, I would have put a period in between ever. A content calendar is the listing of the planned themes, topics, promotions, what you're going to highlight, your products, services, upcoming events, how you're going to translate it all into messages. And I always say this, if you only have like an hour this week to do any work on your marketing and you haven't done anything like this, work on your content calendar. Your content calendar is the way that you're going to move forward with this process. It's going to help you plan. It's going to help you know what to be working on. It's going to give you a roadmap of how you're going to move forward. And there's no right way. There's no wrong way. There's only your way. I have seen people use an old school calendar. I have seen other clients of mine use a blog plugin like Editorial Calendar. I personally use a printable that I have found on Pinterest. I've seen people do Excel spreadsheets, Google Calendars, online apps like Trello or Evernote. I can be honest with you, when I first started this process of this years ago, I was using Evernote. And for some reason, it just wasn't working for me. I just needed it to be more visual. So then I moved over to Trello. And Trello was really good for me for a while. But then I always seem to find myself back to the printable. I have a thing about having a pen in my hand and having a book that looks like this. And it is so old. Look at this book. It's falling apart. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry to show that one to you. but I've had this for so long and I keep going back to it. So you have to go to what works for you. You have to figure out what works for you. If being online and being digital is what works for you, then go for it. If being, on a piece of paper like me, that prints out something awful pretty, then that's what you need to do. Because if you try to fit yourself into something that is not you, you're going to find every excuse in the book not to do it. So you want to make sure that your content calendar is set up the way you work. So I am a person that writes. I am a person that likes to use pen to paper. And I have a thing about Pinterest, and I've always had a thing about Pinterest. So the idea of looking for principles on Pinterest makes me happy. So that's what I do. And you know what? I can get it done. And that keeps me on track, and that gives me the roadmap, and it lets me make sure that I get everything done and I am consistent with my marketing. So you want to think about this when you think about how you're going to set up your content calendar. You want to make sure that you have an area where you can talk about the type of content that you're going to publish. Is a blog post, a video series, checklists like an email opt-in, Instagram or Facebook stories, interviews, all of that kind of stuff. What type of content you want to make sure that you have it listed out. So some content ideas that I wanted to share with you guys are like list tools of steps to follow. People love lists and steps and tools. You can turn it into a blog post. You can definitely turn it into a video. You can turn it into an email opt-in, something that people could download off of your website for free and get on your email list. How-to posts. How-to posts are really, really great. You can teach your community how to do certain things. I know of a lot of people that I have been following that got their start and they grew their community because every single week they did a Facebook Live where they were teaching something. They were teaching the steps on how to do something. They were teaching, this is a process on how you do. I think I was talking last month at the workshop when there was a woman who sold a subscription box. And when she first put her subscription box out, she sold like hundreds of people. I don't remember the exact number right now, but the reason that she had sold so many people is because for 4 years, she showed up every single week on her YouTube channel and on her Facebook, teaching people to do things just for the pure sense of sharing this content and sharing value. So teaching people to do things is a huge way. And it's not just something you can do by text. You can use video or images or however you want to do this. But that's a huge opportunity for content that you can repurpose and that will grow your community. Another good thing that you could do for content ideas is something that I call problem solution post, where you talk about the problem and then you say, this is the solution. The solution doesn't always have to be your product or service. It's good when it is, but I think more people will see the value if the solution isn't always, oh, and buy my product. Here's a problem, and buy my product. And here's a problem, and buy my product. If you can definitely share some other solutions that are not your product and you trying to make a sale, I think you're going to do a lot better with this type of content. A series of posts, like blog post series, video series, Instagram reel series, Facebook story series. And if you could release them over a specific time, so every Tuesday for the next 2 months, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing this. So what happens is you get people accustomed to looking for you at a certain time on a certain day and looking for this specific information. And even if they can't catch it live, they'll always know to go back to the replay that you've done this. And one of the greatest things that I could talk about this, and going back to my mind map, is that when you start to publish and you put all these posts together, and especially if you could find a way to incorporate them into your website, either on a blog or some other section on your website, it's going to help you with SEO. When you have these types of series of posts together, it allows the SEO content because it's also linking within your website, and it adds extra links outside of your website. So it's a really, really good idea to look at a series post and how we're going to do something like that. So what are we going to publish? And the next thing we want to talk about is where on your content calendar. You don't just talk about your content that you're going to create and all that stuff that I just talked about. Where are you going to put this? Is this going on your website blog? Is this stuff for your sales page? Excuse me. Is this your email opt-in content? Is this going to be YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, email, newsletter? Make sure you indicate where it's going and not just the fact that you're publishing this content. And if it's going in multiple places, list that as well. Make sure it's you have a clear path. You've got a roadmap. So I'm creating this list series, and then it's going to go on my website, and then it's going to go to LinkedIn, and then it's going to go into my email newsletter. Make sure that you put that into your content calendar. Another thing you want to make sure you do is how you're going to measure these results. Every single month, at the end of the month, I do a review. I have a list of things that I do. I check, and I've got, actually, it's a printable. I made it myself. I have my own printables. So I find them on Pinterest. And sometimes when I can't find what I'm looking for on Pinterest, I make them myself. Surprise, huh? So on this review, and I make sure I do it at the end of every single month so I can compare month to month. I'm able to tell you from this month, this is what happened with my page views. This is where the traffic came from. This is where people came in on my website. This is what people clicked on the most. This is the best content that I had on Instagram. This was the best content that I had on LinkedIn. I can actually I can tell you how many people signed up for my email list and how many subscribers, how many new subscribers actually stayed. All of this sounds like a lot of information, and especially when you dig into your social media insights. I get that. It sounds a little overwhelming even for me as I'm talking about that. But it's really, really important to make sure that you measure those results, because we can do content all day long, and we can create content and make all kinds of really cool stuff. And we could talk about, it's going to be on my blog, this is going to be on my email. But if you're not measuring your results, if you are not paying attention to what's working and what needs tweaking, you're just going to keep barreling through with this content strategy and not knowing if it's really working or not. So I want to make sure that somewhere in your content calendar and somewhere in all of this stuff that you do, you have a way of measuring your results. It doesn't have to be as detailed and make your own printable like me. You could just pull up a Google Doc and just put some numbers in there. But what's going to happen when you start comparing month to month to month, and I've been doing this for so long, I can actually compare October of 2022 to October of 2018. I can tell you the things that I have changed and how I've grown and where and why I've made the decision to be on the social media sites that I'm on, because of the way that I have been tracking the results. And I know what works for me, and I know what's not. And I know what the things that are really working for me, and when they're not working for me, that's when I start to dig into it even more to figure out what's going on, what needs tweaking, what do I need to add, or what do I need to do. So make sure that there's some place in your content calendar that you are actually tracking to measure these results. One of the best things that you can also do with your content calendar, just help you stay focused, is to work backwards. Like, let's say you are going to be launching a brand new coaching program, and it's going to start in January. Well, you're not going to just start marketing it in the last 2 weeks of December, because nobody's going to show up in January if they've only heard about it the last 2 weeks of December. If your opening the cart date is in January 3rd or 4th or whatever, you're going to start working backwards. What do I need to do in December? What do I need to do in November? What do I need to do in October? So one of the things that I always do when I'm working through this is I start working backwards about everything that's really super important for my deadlines. And I add in time for research, writing drafts, creating images, and I put all these major dates on my calendar, on your content calendar. So you know, this is what I'm working on this week. I'm working on my pre-promos. I'm working on my email copy. I'm working on my social media posts. You know, you've got everything in order so that nothing falls through the cracks and that you've got it all and you're not waiting until 2 weeks before your program starts in January before you actually start talking about it. So make sure that you work backwards from a deadline date. That's one of the best pieces of advice that I can give you. And the thing that I always say is set it like a publishing timeline and major deadlines. But keep in mind that I understand that life happens and things have to get changed and moved around. Things can always be changed and moved around. It's okay. And then you can adjust things based upon what's going on with your, your schedule and what's going on with your world at that time. But don't let the fact that life is going to happen and things are going to change for you not to put a deadline on your content calendar. That's not an excuse. It's just know that that could happen and you can change it, but try your best to stay with that deadline because that's what's going to help you stay on track and stay focused and stay consistent with what you're working on right now. So always do something like that and make sure that you put those deadlines into your calendar. And that's the other thing about the calendar. Use your calendar. It's a calendar with dates on it and months and weeks and all kinds of, great things on there. Use it as a calendar. It's a calendar. And so you want to use it for a calendar. You want to say, this is what I'm going to be doing on this day. This is what I'm going to be doing on this day. This is how I'm going to be doing this. And then you can view all of these topics in one place and make adjustments, but use the calendar part of it because that's what's going to help you when you sit down at your desk on Monday morning and say, what am I working on this week? You can see by your calendar what you're working on. So use the calendar as a calendar. I know that seems really weird for me to say, but it's the truth. It's the truth. You want to do that. And here's an extra tip for you. And for those of you who have a little bit of OCD, like myself, it's very helpful to color code your projects. You can do it by your projects. You can do it by social media platforms. That was one of the things that I would do, especially in Trello. It helped me to kind of color code and kind of put things, into, because on Trello, you can have those little tags, I guess they are. I think that's what the word is. I'm drawing a blank on it, but you could put the little color on each one of the little boards. And so it helped me to say, okay, all the stuff in green is this, all the stuff in red is, Pinterest, or all the stuff in blue is blog posts. And I could look and see by the color coding what I needed to work on. I'm not quite sure exactly why I stopped using Trello. I think I always just go back. I just always seem to go back to the paper and I stopped with the Trello. But color coding really helped me during that time when I was using Trello. So that's like a little extra thing that I wanted to share with you guys. I've got the last part of this that I wanted to bring to you is I just wanted to share some tips about creating better content. Some of the things that I have learned over all of the years. For the longest time, I taught a blogging class. I really liked teaching that blogging class. And I really liked the idea of it. And I think it was because it was so connected to content. And so some of these tips that I want to share with you is things that I was always sharing with my blogging class. But I do believe that these tips apply to not just blogging, to marketing as a whole. So I wanted to share some of these things with you as well. So I want you to think about it a couple of ways like this. When you're thinking about creating better content, I want you to think about how much time you can invest in this. And what's going to happen at first is you are going to spend more time in the beginning. And I joke around with this. It feels like a part-time job sometimes. But what happens with this is it's because it's all so new to you, or it's different, or you're trying something new, like you're doing Trello instead of your paper, or then you went from, Evernote to back to your paper, or whatever it is that you're using. It's going to take a while because this is the way our brains kind of work. Anytime there's something new and uncomfortable, our brains go, oh, stop. and I need you to slow this down. And so initially it feels like it's going to spend a lot of time trying to organize everything and to get it all together. But I can assure you that once you get going, that the more you work it, the quicker you get at it. And that's just the way human beings are. The more often we do something, the easier it gets to, to do it. And we do it quicker and quicker and quicker. So just know going into this, because I don't want to sugarcoat this for you, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time for you to get your content calendar together the way that you want to. It's going to take some time that if you've never done a mind map or done, content mapping before you get into the whole process, just accept that and be okay with it. And when you get ready to do this, just block off enough time that you don't feel like you're constraining yourself. Now, the really big important thing that I wanted to share about creating better content is this. I want you to look at it as if you're contributing to a larger conversation that's going on. Your piece of content, your video, your YouTube channel, your Instagram post, your blog post, all of that stuff is one piece to a larger conversation that's going on. And we're not changing the words. We're not changing what's going on and what everybody else is saying. What we are saying is how we say it and how we share this content. And so I wanted to make sure that I shared that big piece of that when I talk about you're contributing to a larger conversation. And it is really important when we talk about blog posts that the blog post is like a real piece of writing. It has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Tell me what you're going to tell me the thing, and then give me an ending. The only people who can get away with just these tiny little blog posts is Seth Godin. And that's just because he's like really amazing. But the most of us, when we write a blog post and we really do create much better content, we want to make sure that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to it. And that's going to help the flow of your content. You want to keep it short. The thing about us, especially as adults, we have very short attention spans, really short attention spans. So you want to keep it short. And I said long narratives are fine if you're telling a story or if you're really wanting to share something, but otherwise keep it short. On Facebook, a Facebook story is 1 minute. Instagram, 30 seconds. Twitter, 45 seconds. Now, this is interesting about YouTube because YouTube is, remember, it's SEO content. So if it's going to be short on Instagram, it needs to be under 3 minutes. But if it's not short, it needs to be over 10 minutes. That's one of these YouTube things that has to do with their algorithm. So if you're going to keep it short, under 3 minutes, but if you're not able to do it short, like me, there's no way I can do anything on 3 minutes on YouTube. It has to be over 10 minutes. That has to do with the algorithm. I don't want to get into algorithms right now, but trust me on this one. Let's talk about your writing schedule when it comes to sitting down and creating content. I always tell anybody that I work with, all my clients, do not feel obligated to post every single day. The people that post every single day just for the sake of posting, it just gets lost. And so sometimes we need to wait until we have enough material to really have, I think that there's just days when people are just posting for the pure sake of trying to game the algorithm and game the system. But that's not going to help you create better content. Your content is not going to get better by the fact that you're trying to game the algorithm. Your content's going to get better when it provides value. When you have enough material, when you have scheduled the time to research and write your drafts. And I write a draft when I am doing the content for my YouTube video. I write out my copy. So I want to make sure that in my calendar, I schedule time to write out the copy. I set a due date. This is when I'm going to do the research this week. This is when I'm going to write. This is when I'm going to review. We have to do all of these things. And it's not just about how many posts can I throw up this week just so I can game the algorithm. Gaining the algorithm will only get you so far, but creating valuable content will get you further, will help you grow your community. And I added here, consistency with your routine is one of the hardest things you will ever learn. And I get that. I totally get that. I have been doing this for years, years. And then I get used to a routine and then something happens that switches up my whole world. And I'm like, all right, we're doing this now. But one of the things that I have noticed is I always come back to finding my routine even when things have changed. And I can give you an example. Um, when my son was younger, I had one routine. And then when he went into middle school and high school, it became another routine. Especially it came another routine when he had his own car and I no longer had to stop work and go pick him up. That became a change in my routine. So things have happened throughout my life and throughout my business that have changed my routine, but I always find my way back to it. I always find my way. Okay, this is a good day for me. This is a good time for me. This is a good day. This is a good time. And then I get consistent with it. And sometimes it takes maybe 2, 3 weeks to get into that routine if I have to do something new, but I always find my way back into it. There's a comfort, I think, in our routines that allow us to get things done and become more consistent. So I would advise you to always make sure that you find your schedule that works for you. You find your energy times of the day. You find, what's going to be the best time for you to focus on this and give this the priority that it needs. The other thing I wanted to share with you when it comes to creating better content is your writing will not improve if you don't write. You've got to get the words out of your head and onto the paper, into the computer. You have got to keep going. And I always say, don't let the well-intentioned criticism of others get you to stop. Push through the fear and keep on writing. Just keep on going. We're all not going to be perfect. Everything is not going to be the best that it can be. I would rather put out something that I worked really hard on and it's never, the most perfect thing ever than not put it out. So you're writing for your content, you're writing for your social media posts, you're writing for the copy that you're going to read on your YouTube video is not going to improve if you don't write. So think about that and make sure that you put that in the back of your head those days when you're feeling, I don't really want to do this. Maybe if that's all you need to do is just write. That is going to be one of the best things that you could possibly do, just to get the words out of your head and get them onto the paper or into the computer. Oop. Oh, wait, here we go. Bonus lesson. What I always tell people to do is if you're really, really stuck, write for just one member of your community as if you're talking directly to them. We can't be everything to everyone. And if you really feel like you're getting stuck and you don't know what to say, you don't know what to do, imagine that person sitting right there in front of you. What would you say to them? What kind of questions would they ask you? What kind of questions would you ask them? And just write all of that stuff out. And just think about this one person that you're talking to. And that's the person that you're going to help. Because we're not going to be talking to everybody. We're not going to be helping every single person. We all have our individual target market, our target demographic who we're talking to. And so that's who I want you to think about if you're really, really struggling, just write to that one person in your community. The other thing that I like to remind people of is keep an idea notebook handy. You can either use an idea notebook. Actually, that's what my Evernote has turned into. My Evernote has turned into series of lists and content information. But one of the things that I use the most with Evernote is ideas. I use it as my idea notebook because I never know when I'm going for a walk or I'm driving someplace or I'm doing something and I get an idea and I make sure that I write it down, because one of the worst things that we tell ourselves is, I don't need to write that down. I'll remember it. And we never do. We never, ever do. So keep an idea notebook handy, use Evernote, use Trello, use Word, I mean, whatever works best for you. Again, there's no right way, there's no wrong way. There never is a right way or wrong way. It's only your way. Write down your topic ideas. One of the things that I love about Evernote is I can forward resource articles. I can be online reading something and I can hit the share button and I can automatically send it to one of my Evernote notebooks. And then I can go in there and I can put in notes just from that one article. So what's really cool then is when you're ready to write and when you're ready to create your content, it's all right there in one place. It's all in your notebook, or it's all in your Evernote, or it's all in your Google Doc, or wherever it is that you're putting all of your stuff in there. So keep an idea notebook. I call it a notebook, but it could be digital. It could be whatever it is that you want it to be. But just like the idea of it, keep the idea of an idea notebook around you. So that's going to help you with your content. And I want to talk a little bit about SEO for a few more minutes before I wrap this up today. Because SEO is really important. I'm finding myself at this point working a lot with clients on SEO for their websites, which is quite an interesting place for me to be these days. But basically about the idea of SEO, which is search engine optimization. It's the process of trying to get your content, which is your page, your posts, your YouTube videos, Pinterest, anything that's optimized for search, into the search results. Basically what it is these are all search engines. And one of the things I would also include on that is TikTok. TikTok is another site that is huge SEO value. So you've got blog posts, which will help you with Google, YouTube, because Google owns it, Pinterest, which is a search engine, and TikTok. All of these are SEO generated sites. So I get it if you want to be on Facebook and Instagram. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. Great sites to be on for that. But I would highly encourage you to think about one of these 4 options for yourself to create some SEO value for your business. Because think about it. What's the first thing that we all do when we have a question? We Google it. And what's the best way for people to find you and your website? Through SEO. So we're either Googling it, we're on YouTube looking up something, you're on TikTok looking up something, you're on Pinterest looking for something. You want to be in those places with your content for that SEO value. So I want you to start thinking about that. If you are not doing any of these 4 things, blog post for Google, YouTube, which is also owned by Google, Pinterest, and TikTok, I highly recommend that you look into one of these if you are not already doing that. And if you are already doing one of these 4 things, think about ways that you can optimize whichever one that you're on, even more so for search engine. Because here's the thing that's successful with search engine is, it's about knowing what Google is doing, or Pinterest or TikTok, what they expect to see in their results and what's actually in the top results. And then you optimize your website and your content accordingly. One of the best things that you can do is go onto Google or go onto YouTube or Pinterest or TikTok or whichever one you want to use and run a search for your business, the type of work that you do, and see what comes up. See what's going on in the algorithm. See what Google's pulling up. See what YouTube's pulling up. See what TikTok and Pinterest are pulling up. And then look and see, number 1, is your content getting pulled up? If it's not, what's getting pulled up? Why is it getting pulled up? Let's take a look at the content. Let's take a look at the hashtags. Let's take a look at, how, what they're doing, and thinking about that. This is what the search engines are looking for. And how can I change my content? How can I tweak it? How can I turn this into something that's going to get optimized? Because it's not just about using the best keywords that you can put in the hashtags of your post. That's not what SEO is all about. You want to create your content around one single keyword, and then you write your copy on that one single topic. And then that's how you're going to start to make sure that what you're doing is optimized. And one of the things that you can do to help you is think about the questions that you hear frequently on this topic. You can share in your how to answer those questions. And one of the things, and I'll give you an example here right now. I have a client right now that I'm working for, and there's a question that gets asked all the time, but that's not the question that people should be asking. And so one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to actually put that question on her website. And then we're going to put in the information underneath it. We're going to say, this is a great question, but that's not the question you should be asking. This is what we really do. This is what this really means. This is how this really works. But I'm going to take that question that people ask frequently and put it on her website for the SEO value of it. So I want you to think about it from that perspective. And don't try to include as many keywords into every other sentence as you want to. If you're focused on one specific topic with your keyword, the keywords start to flow. And that's what adds to the SEO content value of your posts, of, the information that you put in your YouTube, all of that kind of great stuff. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up here before we move on from the SEO stuff. I think I might do a little bit more SEO with the next one because I feel like I didn't dig into it enough, and I really want to share some more stuff with you, which I think is really super important to help you create better content. But I'll save that for the next workshop that we do. So one of the things that I have shared with you before is when I'm working through my content and I'm working through the whole process of this, and when I'm thinking about my routine and I'm thinking about how I'm going to get it done, I think about my energy time. When do you feel the most productive? Are there days of the week that you have more time to get more work done? And I always prioritize this time like it's a client meeting. If a client meeting is that important for me to block off time, so is the time to write my content. So is the time for me to create my images for Instagram. So is the time for me to record my audio that I'm going to do on my YouTube channel. I want you to think of it like that. When do you feel the most productive? And that's the time that you're going to block off and make sure that you get it done. Because when we have our down times, like I am not an early morning person, and I am so not after 5 o'clock at night. If I was to have to sit here at my desk at 7 o'clock at night and try to get stuff done, nothing would ever get done, because that is not when I feel my most productive. And then my energy level is so low, I would never get anything done. But there's a lot of people who are nighttime people. At 7 o'clock at night, their energy is up. And then that's the time that works for you. So remember, it's not just about what I'm saying. There's no right way, there's no wrong way, there's only your way. And one of the things that I would do is I would create what I call work blocks. Sometimes the work block was writing the content. Sometimes it's creating images. Sometimes I create both and set up my work block based upon the number of posts I wanted to create. So I would always make sure within this time that I was creating on my routine, my schedule, is a work block. And I was very specific about what I was going to be working on. I never sit down to a work block and I think, what am I doing today? Oh, I always know what I'm working on. I always know what's ahead of me. I always have the plan that I know that I'm working on for that day. And sometimes it's not the entire post. It could just be I'm making a whole bunch of images. Sometimes I'm just writing a whole bunch of content. So some days I combine the both of them, and I talk about the number of posts that I'm just creating. But I always make sure that I know what's going on in that work block. I know it's during a time when my energy is really good. And that's what keeps me consistent. And that's what keeps me making sure that I am always creating the content that I want to create. And I repeat this you guys are going to get so tired of hearing me say this, but it is so true. There is no template. There is no, you have to do it this way. You have to have X number of things. There isn't. And so we need to get this out of our head. I don't know where this started, and I don't know who started it, but I want to stop it. I really want to make everybody just stop it. There's no right way or wrong way to do this. There's just your way. Because what happens is when you do this your way and you get things done the way you need them to be done, the way you want them to be done during the time when you can get them done, it gets done. And I think that's more important than trying to follow somebody's template and trying to make sure that we all do exactly what we're supposed to be doing because some person said that this is how we're supposed to do this. That gets me all riled up. Can't you tell? Okay. All right. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap up here and remind you that if you want to continue this process and learn more about creating some content for yourself, $20 off any of the subscription plans just by using the word create, all in lowercase. $20 off any subscription plan for the Create Your Business boxes. It's a DIY program. You get an interactive workbook in your inbox once a month and creative tools delivered to your doorstep. All right, now, we are right about our time. I know there's a few of you on here, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up today, especially for those of you who are joining me on the replay. You know that I'm going to put the replay up on my YouTube channel, so you are more than welcome to ask any questions in the comments below on the YouTube channel, and I will get to you as soon as I can. But I do thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. And look in your inbox for the next workshop, which we're going to be doing in December. And it's going to be understanding about your customer journey and how to use this information to plan out some of your content for 2023. So thank you so much, everybody. I thank you for your time and your interest in learning more about the Create Your Business program. And I look forward to seeing you guys next month. Thank you so much. Bye.